we have learned as well that government has compounded this breach of good governance by appointing someone who is both unqualified and tainted with implicit bias to head the Financial Investigations Division. The very institution...
Point of order, member, point of order.
Point of order, Madam.
If you would like to attack the public servants who have interviewed and given the individual the job that they are now executing, I would want to caution you that is not the appropriate thing to do. I've given the leeway, please use it well to wrap up your presentation.
Golding applauds civil society for questioning Dennis Chung's FID appointment. Opposition leader Mark Golding praises civil society groups for calling out the controversial appointment of Dennis Chung as Chief Technical Director of Jamaica's Financial Investigations Division, FID. But is this really about one man, or is Jamaica's financial integrity at stake? In this expert analysis, we break down why the appointment is raising alarm bells. Civil society versus private sector reactions. What this means for Jamaica and the FATF grey list. PNP versus JLP drama and government pushback. Global implications and what to watch next. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for more real Jamaican political expert analysis. Why is Mark Golding clashing with Jamaica's private sector? Why are civil society groups turning up the heat over one man's appointment? And could this FID controversy drag Jamaica back onto the FATF grey list? By the end of this video, you will understand why Dennis Chung's new job has everyone from uptown to parliament shouting conflict of interests like it's the new national anthem. The appointment heard across Jamaica. So picture this: one man, one appointment, and now the entire country is questioning Jamaica's financial future. Dennis Chung, a chartered accountant and private sector heavyweight, gets appointed as Chief Technical Director of the Financial Investigations Division. You know, the people who track money laundering and financial crime. But instead of applause, civil society groups start asking, wait, him? The opposition is livid, the JLP is defensive, and civil society is waving red flags like we're at a Formula One race. Who do you trust more to protect Jamaica's financial reputation? Mark Golding or the JLP? Reply with one word: Golding or JLP. Let's see who really has the people's confidence. The conflict. Mark Golding steps up at a PMP forum in St. James and says loudly that Dennis Chung is biased and unqualified. His words, not mine. But Golding's not just shouting in the void. He's applauding groups like National Integrity Action, Advocates Network, and Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal. Civil society watchdogs who are basically saying this appointment stinks worse than Gordon House AC in July. Their issue: potential conflict of interest, lack of transparency, a man deeply entrenched in private sector leadership now overseeing financial crime investigations. Make it make sense. Actually, it doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, heavyweights like Mitri Siaga and William Mafood, both past PSOJ presidents, defend Chung's record. They are saying he's competent and capable. In other words, stop the drama, man's qualified. But that's where the plot twists again. Dennis Chung's appointment, bold move or political disaster in the making? Drop your take in 7 words or less. Best comment gets featured featured in the next video. The political battle. Enter Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, the PNP's Foreign Affairs spokesperson. She fires a warning shot in Parliament. Jamaica's international reputation is at serious risk. According to her, this appointment could shake Jamaica's status with the Financial Action Task Force, aka FATF, the global watchdog for money laundering and terrorism financing. If that name sounds familiar, it should. Jamaica only just escaped the FATF grey list last year. That list cost us credibility, disreputed international banking, and nearly turned us into a global pariah. Now Brown-Burke is saying, quote, careless appointments like Chung's could land us back in trouble. Juliet Holness steps in. Yes, that Juliet Holness, and shuts her down with a point of order. Speaker Holness basically said, if you attack say man corrupt, you better come with proof. But Brown-Burke doubled down. She said our international partners need to keep holding Jamaica accountable because, well, the government clearly isn't. Government Senator Marlon Morgan clapped back. It's not the appointment that's dangerous. It's the PNP's reckless talk, he argued. And to top it off, Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith entered the chat. Her take, the PNP is the real threat to Jamaica's global standing. She called the opposition's warnings unpatriotic and accused them of manufacturing outrage for political gain. And just like that, we're in a full-blown war of words. Opposition versus government, civil society versus private sector, reality versus narrative, all over one appointment. Be honest, if the FID can't be independent, who can we trust to fight corruption in Jamaica? Real answers only. No fence sitting. Me don't want nobody to sit down on the fence. Fallout and my expert analysis. Now let's break this down patriotic Jamaican style. Is this about Dennis Chung personally, or is this a deeper issue about trust, transparency, and the revolving door between the private sector and public office? Let's not forget, FID isn't just any agency. They handle financial crimes, asset recovery, and cross-border investigations. Meaning, if the head of the division even looks like he's not independent, that could tank investor confidence overnight. And we know how fragile Jamaica's international financial reputation is. One slip, one grey list placement, and our entire banking system gets choked harder than a goat in Portland Curry Festival. So was the appointment rushed? Was it political? Was it strategic? These are the questions Jamaica's asking. And here's the kicker. This might just be the beginning. There's already talk of deeper probes, civil society petitions, and international partners keeping a closer watch. What's more dangerous, the appointment itself or the silence from parts of the private sector? Let's unpack this. Start your replies with the real danger is ... Here's a summary of the highlights and the key points. Mark Golding applauds civil society for questioning Dennis Chung's FID appointment. Private sector defends Chung, saying he's qualified. Opposition warns appointment could harm Jamaica's FATF standing. Juliet Holness, Marlon Morgan, and Kamina Johnson-Smith clapped back hard. National debate erupts over credibility, corruption, and conflict of interest. Which institution has the most influence in Jamaica? The JLP, the PNP, the private sector, or civil society? Drop your answer plus your reason. Let's debate down below in the comments. So what do you think? Is Dennis Chung's appointment just smart leadership or a political power grab? Drop your take in the comments below, especially if you're from the diaspora. And if you want more expert political breakdowns like this one, subscribe and turn on notifications. We dig deep so you can stay sharp. This is the Patriotic Jamaican YouTube channel where we break down the drama behind Jamaica's politics, one scandal at a time. So now make we hear where Angela Brown Burke have to say. But Juliet Holness I go call a point of order on her statement. So let's listen up.
We have learned as well that government has compounded this breach of good governance by appointing someone who is both unqualified and tainted with implicit bias to head the Financial Investigations Division. The very institution...
Point of order, member, point of order.
A point of order, Madam Chair.
If you would like to attack the public servants who have interviewed and given the individual the job that they are now executing, I would want to caution you that is not the appropriate thing to do. I've given the leeway, please use it well to wrap up your presentation.
If Jamaica is blacklisted by FATF, it will be catastrophic. We will be treated like a high-risk jurisdiction. Financial institutions would sever ties. Correspondent banking could be lost. We would struggle to do international business. Our citizens would be the ones to suffer. End of quote. Madam Speaker, it is that catastrophe that we believe is a real and present danger. And it's not being caused by war or natural disaster or economic collapse. It is being caused by recklessness and arrogance, we believe, of this administration. Those in CARICOM, Commonwealth, the UN, FATF, multilateral lending agencies, and we say this: Jamaica has long been respected as a country of laws and of democratic traditions and of principled foreign policy. We urge you not to let any misstep or anything like that tarnish the legacy of Jamaica. We ask you to continue to hold this and every Jamaican government, including the next one to be led by the PNP, to the high standards that we have committed to under international treaties and conventions.
So now we're going to hear where Marlon Morgan have to say. Listen up.
The PNP knows fully well that the Financial Investigations Division has the requisite resources, technical capabilities and units, as well as operational systems to faithfully and efficiently discharge its mandate. As is well known to the PNP, Dennis Chung, as Chief Technical Director, will be providing strategic direction and coordinating the day-to-day operations of the entire team at the FID, and has tremendous human and other resources, including police investigators, available to him. The PNP, quite frankly, needs to desist from its destructive strategy of seeking to tarnish Jamaica's reputation, tear down hard-working people, and of course, burn the country down in their bid to rule over the ashes. It is despicable, unfortunate, unpatriotic, and vulgar for the PNP, in this instance, through its chairman, Dr. Angela Brown Burke, to have used the floor of Jamaica's Parliament of all places to raise unwarranted and baseless alarm and paint a false picture regarding the integrity of Jamaica's financial system and indeed our financial crimes combating architecture, as is the case with the FID. Dr. Brown Burke and the PNP are recklessly compromising Jamaica's reputation and are undermining the gains we have made in recent times, having been removed from the grey list internationally.
Kamina Johnson enters the chat. Let's hear what she have to say.
The recklessness of the PNP really shouldn't escape the Jamaican people, given the very hard work of the government across ministries, departments and agencies to fix the problems that they left. Systemic problems, difficult problems, and in fact, their most recent efforts to impugn at the same time the reputations of our robust AML CFT systems, our strong and independent Offices of Services Commission, and one of the most well-qualified and unbiased persons to offer themselves for public service across administrations. That must be seen as some kind of trifecta, some political record in terms of the depths to which they will sink and their inability to demonstrate readiness to lead and represent a country. I really hope that the people of Jamaica and friends of Jamaica will take due note. The only things putting Jamaica's reputation at risk at this time are the PNP's irresponsible utterances and their attempts to bring them to international attention. The PNP has again demonstrated that they are willing to tarnish Jamaica's reputation if they believe it will get them closer to the seat of government. This is not only deeply unpatriotic, but it's entirely counterintuitive for someone who is seeking to present themselves as an alternative representative of the country's interests overseas.
Last by no means the least, I could hear where Marky G have to say, cause him no stop fire shots at Dennis Chung's appointment, and rightfully so.
Somebody who has come on public radio, looked at the report of the Integrity Commission and said, oh, despite all the things I've mentioned, there's nothing there, there's nothing wrong with any of that. That is the person who they want to put and have put to be the Chief Technical Director of the Financial Investigations Division that is charged with completing the investigation of the Prime Minister. Someone who he's closely associated with, and somebody who, although an accountant, has no law enforcement experience, no particular qualifications in the area of fighting financial crimes, which are the core requirements to run the FID. The FID is an investigative law enforcement agency, and it's a very important one. So this is a totally untenable situation, and I'm very happy that various non-government and non-political organizations have come forward and said this is untenable, this doesn't look right, it should not stand. And I'm very disappointed that there are some leaders in the private sector who seem to think there's nothing wrong with what has taken place. I suggest that they reconsider the matter and look at the facts, because it is absolutely clear and blatant that this appointment is totally inappropriate, untenable, and should not stand.
Appointing Dennis Chung was a real backward step by the government, and it just goes for further show and prove said Jamaica is not a serious country. Had this appointment happen in America, Canada, or UK, with all of the outrage and media publicity and public backlash, you see me, both from the opposition and civil society groups and the protests in any one of these major first world country that is very closely linked and tied to Jamaica, Dennis Chung would have to resign immediately. As a matter of fact, he wouldn't even get to see the office of the Chief Technical Director of the FID. He wouldn't get to go sit down in the seat and talk about, oh, his first day on the job was pretty smooth sailing and, you know, it will go good so far. No, because he's actually, in a real life, he's very unqualified for that job in every way, shape and form. Him never make for that the position there. I mean, I don't know why people can't get it in their head. So yes, the PNP's arguments are very valid. Dennis Chung not only come and say, oh, nothing wrong with the PM having 28 bank accounts during an active investigation by the Integrity Commission and the FID into the PM's finances, but Dennis Chung and the PM is very closely associated. They cycle and ride bicycle together in a cycle race, you see me, together. So with a close association like that, him making a statement and then getting politically appointed to the head of the FID, it a go look some type of way. It a go look like Dennis Chung is very biased in his outward view towards the Integrity Commission and the FID digging into the PM's finances. So at the end of the day, it just not look good appointing someone like that. But then again, the government doesn't care. The government more move like a dictator. Then do what they want, then say what they want, then bully, then wear true things. Yes, the government actually moves like a bully. Now let's flip this on its head. Imagine if it was the PNP in government and them do something like this and hire Dennis Chung. Same exact situation. Integrity Commissioner FID investigate Marky G, for corruption and illicit enrichment. The Labour right would have a field day with it. It would actually be worse than this because them would have said, look, this man used to work for Mark Golding and Peter Bunting at Deering, Bunting and Golding, and then Portia did go appoint Dennis Chung at the National Solid Waste Management. So a two different stint and political appointment that under the PNP. So imagine the field day where the Labour rights would have with a situation like that. You see me? Just imagine someone from the JLP would answer, see it, Dennis Chung, this man is a PNP apologist. That's why he said nothing wrong with Marky G having 28 bank accounts. You know, get it? And I would still be saying it is wrong. No matter who do it, whether a PNP do it or a JLP do it, my stands are going to remain the same. If you're wrong, you're wrong, and if you don't look good, you don't look good. Catch you in the next one. One love, Jamaica.